Good evening, namaskar, and welcome to this very special episode, if I might call it an episode, of Pick a Book Jaipur. You may ask me why this episode is special and why am I calling it an episode? Well, why am I calling it an episode? You will come to know as you will meet our guest for today. And it is very special because this is the very first episode of our series, which is going to commence called Between the Covers, where we plan to call lot many authors and to talk with them at length and to understand what goes behind the making of their book. And we are going to commence with somebody very special today. And our very first interaction of Between the Covers is with none other than Ananth Mahadevan ji. So could we see Ananth Mahadevan ji's video, please?
अनंत नारायण महादेवन केरल के त्रिचूर में 28 अगस्त 1950 को जन्मे अनंत नारायण महादेवन या कहें अनंत महादेवन टेलीविजन, थिएटर और सिनेमा का जाना पहचाना नाम है।
तुम अपने भतीजे नीलम का खून क्यों करना चाहते थे? तो वो मेरी भतीजी है, तो मैं उसका अंकल हूं। मैंने हमेशा तुम्हारा भला ही चाहा था, कभी पराया नहीं समझा, एक भाई की तरह रखा तुम्हें, और बदले में मुझे क्या मिला? धोखा।
I told you I was a little late. You're not a little late. You're 25 years old late. This ticket is old. Now so is the show. Everything looks old here. It's the same old you.
अनंत महादेवन ने अपना फिल्म करियर 1984 में शुरू किया। खासतौर पर 80-90 के दशक में अनंत महादेवन जिन कई टेलीविजन धारावाहिकों के जरिए घर घर तक पहुंचे, उनकी यादें आज भी दर्शकों के मन में।
हिंदी में बा नहीं बोलना, वाह बोलना, वाह। वेरी गुड, आप समझ में आया? तो हम बंगाली बाबू है, हमारा नाम वोमकेश मुखर्जी है, हम बॉम्बे में हिंदी सीखने आया है।
अनंत महादेवन एक कुशल लेखक, अभिनेता, रंगकर्मी और फिल्मकार हैं। करीब 20 फिल्मों का निर्देशन कर चुके अनंत महादेवन को उनकी फिल्म मी सिंधुताई सबकाल को सर्वश्रेष्ठ पटकथा और संवाद के लिए राष्ट्रीय फिल्म पुरस्कार से सम्मानित किया गया, जबकि 2010 में ही इस फिल्म को स्पेशल जूरी अवार्ड भी दिया गया।
तुझ्या बापानं तुला म्हशीच्या मागणं सोडली का रानात सोडली कायमची? डोळे फाडून काय बघून राहिली माझ्याकडं? चल जा मशीना घेऊन, नाहीतर तुले उभे गाडी ना।
अनंत महादेवन हिंदी, अंग्रेजी और मराठी के अनेक नाटकों में उल्लेखनीय भूमिकाएं निभा चुके हैं और विभिन्न भाषाओं की 50 से ज्यादा फिल्मों में विविधतापूर्ण चरित्रों के रूप में अभिनय करते नजर आते हैं। साल 2014 में अनंत महादेवन की फिल्म गौर हरि दास्तान, 2016 में रफ बुक और 2019 में माई घाट भारत के अंतर्राष्ट्रीय फिल्म महोत्सव में बेहद चर्चा का विषय रहीं। फिल्मों में काम करने और फिल्म निर्माण के अलावा अनंत महादेवन फिल्म संबंधी चर्चाओं में भी बढ़ चढ़कर हिस्सा लेते हैं और अपनी बेबाकी के लिए जाने जाते हैं।
So here we are. We are ready to welcome one of the most prolific screenwriter, actor, and directors of our time, Shri Ananth Mahadevan. Shri Ananth Mahadevan ji has carved a niche for himself in Malayalam, Tamil, Marathi, and Hindi films, and in Hindi films and television in India. After a long experience in television and film industry, he has now turned into an author also with his very, very interesting book named as Once Upon a Prime Time. Namaskar, sir, and a very warm welcome to you on this inaugural episode of Between the Covers.
नमस्कार नमस्कार सबको, बहुत 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 नमस्कार। और मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि सब अपने अपने घर में या जहाँ भी हैं वो बहुत ही सुरक्षित हैं और सेफ हैं और हेल्दी रहें, क्योंकि जिस दौर से हम गुजर रहे हैं इस वक्त वो बहुत ही एक अजीबो-गरीब दौर है। दिस इज अ डिस्टोपियन टाइम एंड आई रियली होप एंड प्रे एंड फॉर द वेल-बीइंग ऑफ नॉट जस्ट ऑल ऑफ अस हु आर हियर ऑन दिस शो, बट फॉर द पीस एंड वेल-बीइंग ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, बिकॉज That is what this planet needs at this point of time. So thank you very much for having me here in this inaugural episode of Pick a Book Between the Covers. And I hope I will be able to, sort of, well, keep you entertained and keep you informed. And let's see how it goes.
We have no doubts about that, sir. We have no doubts about that. So the first question that I would like to ask is, from acting to screenwriting to directing, from TV to films, and now an author, from national award to international award. So Ananji, what is it that makes you so prolific, successful, astute, yet so humble?
That's okay. That's quite a long, tough question. So, um, I would see the performing arts, the visual arts, and the arts as such, whether it's music, art, film, television, writing, all of these are in a way very correlated because, I mean, if you talk of the arts, you see all these spread out in front of you. And each one of them has been very inviting for me. In fact, right from my school days, I used to write a lot and act a lot in the school plays and inter school competitions. So that's where I think the whole idea of acting and writing got nurtured. And I had not imagined that it would take on a profession as such because I always wanted to get into the sciences. I mean, I am a science graduate. I wanted to be a research scientist. I mean, how useful that would have been in today's times. I'm wasting my time here talking about things other than, saving lives. So if I was a research scientist, probably I would have been a more important entity today. But somehow the arts took over the sciences in me. And I always call, I call it the science of art. And that's how I apply the sciences that I have learned to the art. So it has always been a driving force within me to, graduate from writing to acting to directing to editing and, get on with each of these media, whether it is theater, television, films, or anything that would be sort of, innovated in the future. So it was a very gradual progression, I would say. I mean, I don't want to use words like prolific and, similar words. I would just say that I wanted to grow as a writer. I wanted to grow as an actor. I wanted to grow as a director, and I wanted to grow as a filmmaker. So maybe that, the whole persistence within me and the whole drive within me to grow as a person, whether in whatever section I am involved with, whatever department I'm involved with, that has kept me going all this time. And now looking back, and when people like you actually tell me and make me aware that maybe I have covered the, not the entire gamut maybe, but a huge gamut of, what would one say, the arts. It makes one, in a way, sort of, look at it behind and say, yes, my hard work and my, diligence has paid off in a way, but there is so much more to go because, in a country like ours, we are always very happy and very satisfied and somewhere contented with what we have. But that's very well when it comes to living, I mean, simple living and high thinking, one has to have a sense of contentment. But when it comes to achieving, especially in any field you are, whether sports or science or arts, I guess we all are a little too, I would say, too very quickly satisfied with what we have. And what we end up doing is pure mediocrity rather than excellence. So when we look at what has been achieved in the world all around us, not just now, but maybe from the beginning of the century, the last century, the 20th century, we realize that there is so much more to achieve, so much more to do, so much more to cover, so much more ground to cover. So I don't consider myself prolific enough unless I have come up to a stage where I feel that I have actually broken new ground for the country and entered a global arena, an international cinema arena that would look up not just at me, but at Indian cinema with much more respect than they do now. So it's been a kind of a mix of what would one say, average and good, but that's not where I intend to stop. I need to achieve excellence, and that's the pursuit that I'm on.
Sorry, that was very interesting, sir. It was good to hear your thoughts on that. The book, Once Upon a Time, chronicles your personal journey in the world of television industry and films, along with the story of the Indian television industry. What made you pen this saga of the birth and coming of age of the Indian television industry?
Uh, if I may say so, I must consider myself to be extremely fortunate to have broken into the television scene right when commercial television was the inception of commercial television in 1983, soon after the Asian Games, when the government had brought in color television into India. And the Prasar Bharati decided to call upon makers, filmmakers, especially filmmakers, because there were no television makers in those days except a few of them who were doing television for each of the kendras, in each city, in each metro. So a lot of filmmakers were called upon to start what was called the Great Television Movement. And I was fortunate to be part of the first week of that particular movement. If I still remember, if my memory serves me right, on Monday we had Barrister Vinod with Parikshit Sani Saab. Tuesday we had Hum Log, which had already started earlier. Wednesdays was Khandan, which was India's answer to Dynasty and Dallas by Sridhar Shirsagar. Thursday was when I made my debut in Ados Pados by Sai Paranjpe with Amol Palekar and Rameshwari. Fridays, we had the very rollicking Yejo Hai Zindagi with Kundan Shah and the whole gang having a great time, Satish Shah and Shafi Namdar and Swaroop Sampath and Rakesh Bedi. Saturday was again Hum Log. It was twice a week. And Sundays, we had a plethora of them. We had everything from, Idhar Udhar, we had Darpan, Khazana, Paying Guest, Rajni, of course, and Vajanab. A lot of them, but much before Mahabharata and Ramayana came into our lives. So that was when it all started. And I was fortunate to witness this entire movement beginning, right from the cradle. And even today, I would say 40 years later, I'm still doing television, if not the regular kind of television that we know, the web series and other kind of television programs. So when I looked back at it a few years back, 3 or 4 years back, before I wrote this book, someone told me, "Do you realize that you've been running the whole gamut of television right from the 1980s to right now, and probably you have worked with every possible person, whether it's been an actor or a director or a technician who has been part of Indian television." And I also realized that I had not made any diary or penned down any thoughts. And there was so much that went on behind the scenes, not just with the kind of shows that I was involved in, but also with so many others, so many of my colleagues. And so I thought it would make a great story. And initially, I wanted to write it as an autobiography of my life, of my journey on Indian television. But then I realized what an incomplete document that would be, and what an unfair document that would be, because so many others, along with me, my peers and my seniors and my colleagues, had worked and done so much where I had not featured. And if I had just done sort of a book which only featured me, that would be an incomplete kind of story. So I decided to get the whole gang together. I spoke to a lot of them with whom I had not worked with. And of course, with the ones I had worked with, I'd already spoken to. And I sort of, stitched those experiences together in the form of a story. I did not want to make it some kind of an anthology of television shows on Indian television. I wanted to make it a story of the stories that you loved, and loved watching. So that was how this whole idea of Once Upon a Prime Time was born. And I wanted to call it Being There. And Sai Paranjpe quite loved the idea, because Being There is the title of a Peter Sellers film, where Peter Sellers just keeps watching television, television, and television. And all that he asks people who meet him saying, do you watch TV? You know, so he was hooked on to television. So, but then my publisher, Mr. Sohin Lakhani and Embassy Books, they decided that, I'd written Once Upon a Prime Time inside the book. They said this should be outside the book, because this is what's going to sell the book Once Upon a Prime Time, because we all know Once Upon a Time as a very famous nomenclature, but Once Upon a Prime Time says it all. So we changed the title of the book to Once Upon a Prime Time, and that's how this book was born. And I took about 2 years to write it, because I had to delve into what I would say the memory cans, or the memory discs as we know them today, of my mind, and try and excavate so much. And yet I realized that I had left so much unsaid, and I used to go back to the book and then start filling them up again. And even now I feel that a lot of people have been left out. So that's how it was. I mean, Once Upon a Prime Time is a book in 3 books. I call it 3 episodes, because television is all about episodes. Episode 1 is the beginning, where all the filmmakers got together and they explored a new medium called television. Episode 2 is the middle, where terrestrial television, Doordarshan as we know it, got taken over by satellite television, and a lot of channels started mushrooming. And from 1 channel or 2 channels, we went into 140 channels. And episode 3, I almost wanted to call it the end, but then I thought that would be too pessimistic. And I said a new beginning, because when television started going downhill, as the television we all knew that we began, the founding fathers of television, the way they began, and it started going downhill after the new millennium in 2000 with, a spate of daily soaps that just went, round and round the bush and said nothing, and they got too depressing and too regressive. Web series started coming in, and web series is nothing but what we started in the 80s, when we did episodes, shows of 13 episodes and 26 episodes, and seasons of 13 episodes each. So the web series is a right, full circle come back to what television was all about right in the beginning. So it was life come full cycle, and there it was. I mean, for me to pick up and write, and I realized that no one else had done this story on Indian television, and here was an opportunity that I wanted to, cash in on. And also this whole, yen for writing right from school days, I would, give that some kind of an outlet. So there I am with this book, Once Upon a Prime Time.
Fantastic. How much time did you take to write this book, sir?
Oh, nearly 2.5 years.
Wow.
Because if you see it, it's quite voluminous in that sense. I had to make sure that I did not miss out on anything. And yet, like I confess, I have missed out on a couple of things. So if there is another edition, I would like to get that updated. But it did take 2.5 years, because it went back and forth, visiting, revisiting. And the book is not, it's not in a linear structure. It's not chronological. It goes back and forth like a film screenplay. And I wanted to write it in a very interesting way.
It is indeed very interesting, because when I read the book, I actually went down the memory lane, and I was traveling my own personal timeline as you spoke about the serials, which you have mentioned right at the beginning. And it was interesting because as I read about it, I could actually hear the title song being replayed in my mind of serials which were like really popular. And it was very, very interesting reading the book. And the best part that I liked was that what you have chronicled, I think it has not been chronicled ever. And you've done full justice to it. If you ask me, you've done absolute justice to it, because you've written about yourself in such a subtle manner that you just carry it forward beautifully with the history of the Indian television industry. And I, for one, I'm strongly recommending this book to everybody to read it. So it's actually a very good read. So
Thank you.
do we have another book coming up from you, sir?
Well, there is something in the pipeline, and it's something very prestigious. I haven't started writing it as yet. I'm just doing the research on it. I have been asked by Dr. L. Subramaniam to write his autobiography. So I am in touch with him. I am having a lot of sessions with him. And as you know, he is a violin maestro who's put India on the world map as a musician, and he is unparalleled today as far as what the violin is concerned. So I hope to do justice to that's a tough one to write, because it's a book on pure music, and it's a book on the journey of a man who journeyed through music with his violin. So let me see how well that shapes up.
I'm sure it'll come out very well. And we can book a session in advance with Between the Covers for you, with you for your next book.
That's going to take some time. Give me some time. That's going to be next year, not now. Yeah.
Right, sir. So my favorite part of the book is where you have mentioned about Rahi Masum Raza and the controversy that surrounded his selection to pen down the script of Mahabharata, one of the biggest blockbuster series in all time on Indian television. So we would be very happy if you could share an anecdote, your favorite anecdote from the days of television when you were associated purely with it, or maybe after that, a story behind the story. I'm sure all of us would love to hear.
So many anecdotes. You mentioned Rahi Masum Raza Saab. In fact, my first film for television, it was a film called Sambandh. And Dr. Rahi Masum Raza, thanks to my producer, Mr. B. Subhash, Rahi Masum Raza used to write all his films. So B. Subhash said, I'm going to give you Dr. Masum Raza to write your story. I said, will he do that for me? I'm just a beginner. I'm just an actor on television. And this is my first venture to direct a film. And it was a good 70, 80-minute film, which today would qualify to be an international feature film, the length, a 70-minute film. And it was on a very controversial subject, because in those days, the Punjab insurgents was in full swing. And as you know, the terrorists used to strike without warning. And there was a lot of exodus from Punjab to Delhi. And a lot of people used to migrate from Punjab because feeling that Punjab is now done with and there is no future in Punjab. In the midst of this, we write a story. Unfortunately, I do not know whether Doordarshan still has this the tapes with them, but let me tell you the story because it's not available anywhere. It was a story of a family, an industrialist family in Punjab. One day when he comes back home from his factory, he realizes there has been a shootout at home, and fearing the worst, he goes inside, but his wife is safe, his daughter is safe. It is the servant who has been killed in the shootout. But over the days, he realizes that probably this was a red flag that the terrorists were waving, that get out or we shoot you and your family. And he decides to pack his bags and get out of the Punjab. On the day they are about to go, the wife confronts him and says, look, I'm shifting my factory from Punjab to Delhi. And the wife says, we are not your factory. We are your family. Our roots are here. We were born here. My parents are buried, or rather cremated over here. This is our land. Why are we running away? It is the guys who come with those helmets and masks on those bikes and who spray bullets on us who should be running away. Why are we running away? And the man has a change of heart. He drops everything, he says, now it's their bullets and my chest, and we'll see who wins. And that's where the film ends. A lot of people told me this is utopia. Punjab will never come back to normalcy. And you have just given a happy ending or a hopeful ending for the sake of a film. The film was shown on Doordarshan. It got very rave reviews. And a few years later, Punjab came back to normalcy. I think that was my beginning as a director on television and in a television film that I can never forget.
Very interesting, sir. Interesting indeed. Um, Mostly we find that writers and directors have a favorite pattern when they are making movies. And for example, Guru Dutt, we see his films mostly celebrate despondency. Manmohan Desai, favorite pattern of Lost and Found, as we see in Amar Akbar Anthony and Dharamveer Parvarish. If we talk of Prakash Mehra, we see a pattern of an orphan or an illegitimate child or a very disturbed childhood, like in Zanjeer, Mukaddar Ka Sikandar, and Lavaris. So, my question to you is, what is your pattern, whether it is on TV or it is in film industry? What is your signature expression?
Okay, I'll be honest about this. You're very right. You know, every filmmaker or even music composer for that matter has a certain signature. You hear a 40-piece orchestra, you know it's Shankar Jaikishan. You hear a very, a very subtle violin or just a shena, you know it's Madan Mohan. So, it's similar to filmmakers, whether it's Bergman or whether it's all the filmmakers you mentioned here in India. There's signature so and so, you know. But let me tell you something. That is what frightens me the most. I have never been typecast anywhere. I've not been typecast as an actor. I have not been typecast as, so far I've not been typecast at all. And typecasting is something that makes me nervous and frightens me. So I have, made a concerted effort not to repeat myself in anything that I do. And my biggest battle is against myself, because I need to grow as a filmmaker. I need to grow as an actor. It's not to prove to anything or anyone, to the world, what I'm doing or what I'm capable of, but it's only to prove to myself that I am not getting stagnated in some kind of, a very typical mannerism or a very typical pattern, like you say, of writing or directing. So if you see my films, I started off with what people today call as India's first retro musical. We started with a film called Dil Vil Pyar Vyar, where we paid tribute to the published works of R.D. Burman. We used his songs in a very different environment and situation. And the film was a joyous celebration of life and romance. I went on to doing films like Staying Alive. I mean, if you see that poster back there, it's a true story of two patients in an ICCU who end up changing each other's lives. When I did Red Alert, it was a film about a farmer who got sucked into the Naxalite movement in Telangana. Again, a true story. Then I did a film called Gaur Hari Dastan, which was about a freedom fighter who was fighting for 30 years to get a freedom fighter certificate. Then I did a film on India's first practicing lady doctor, Dr. Rakmabai, the poster you see behind here. So, and then when I did My Ghat, and now I've done Bittersweet, you will not notice a pattern. And if I may be very immodest and say so, if someone sees these films without my name in the credits, they probably won't believe that it's the same director who's made it. So I have really, like I said, made an effort to change myself, to improve, not to get stuck in one particular groove, and try and explore. There's so much to explore. Why would one follow one kind of pattern and say that this is my signature, this is where I excel in, and this is my field of speciality, this is my comfort zone? No, I want to get out of that comfort zone. I want to push my limits. I want to see, the more difficult a script is, the more challenging a script is, that's the film I want to do next. So that is what I am trying to sort of hunt down for myself. So as far as patterns are concerned, no patterns for me.
Awesome. So I guess we can say versatility is your signature.
Whatever word you may use, I don't want to use any word for myself. It's all these words are very frightening and I don't want to attach them to myself. I just want to keep working.
Great. So your candid comment on television then and television now.
Television then was done by filmmakers. They were not done by executive producers. Television then was when names like Sai Paranjpe, Yash Chopra, Rishikesh Mukherjee, Bashu Chatterjee, MS Satyu, Kundan Shah, Aziz Mirza, Saeed Mirza, and so many of them who were great filmmakers, Yash Chopra, B.R. Chopra, Ravi Chopra. They all came in Ramanand Sagar. They all came in and they tried out a new medium, a medium that was called the long medium that where they had to tell stories over many hours and not just a couple of hours like they used to do. And the way they found their footing and the way they experimented and the way they executed all those shows. At that point of time, we were watching a lot of international shows like Dynasty, Dallas, Santa Barbara, Old Fox, so many of them. And we always thought that we were lagging behind in technique. We were so juvenile. And whatever we are doing was very tacky. Today we eat our words. Today I eat my words. And I say, considering what television has become today, what we did was nothing short of classics. When you see Malgudi Days, when you see Mirza Ghalib, or The Sword of Tipu Sultan, or Chanakya, or shows, so many of them which were based on classics, Shrikant, and of course the Mahabharata and Ramayana were always there. Plus so many comedy serials like Ye Jo Hai Zindagi or Ghar Jamai, which I acted in first and later in a later season directed. The humor that came from that, the tradition and the classic elements that came out, and the pomp and splendor that came out of all those shows. Today, we just see them as very artificial. It's all, wannabes trying to prove how good they are with the medium just because technology has improved, just because they have computer graphics at their disposal and they can do what they like. I was told that when Ramanand Sagar shot Ramayan, there was a small little, what you saw eventually was something else, but there was just a small little puddle over which Sita and Ram just crossed and walked. In the show, you see it as a huge lake or some kind of a sea, and they did not have those kind of computer graphics in those days, what we have today at our disposal to do that. I mean, yet they were so resourceful and they pulled it off. Today, we laugh at all those arrows coming and hitting each other and striking in midair and, sparking away. But considering what they had at their disposal then, I think they did a far superior job to the kind of mental activity that's going on now on television. If you actually remove the logos of each channel, just remove them and keep switching channels, you will not notice the difference. You'll notice a wedding in one channel culminating in another with the Suhagrat in the third. It is that similar, and that, what would one say? They're so short of ideas today, they don't know what to do. They are stretching it beyond imagination. I don't blame them because the daily soap is so demanding. You have to churn out 6 episodes a week. So what they do is the episode that we used to shoot, one episode, they actually sort of dissect it into 6 episodes and they stretch it. And no wonder that you can't stand the stretching at all over 6 episodes. All that used to be sort of, paraphrased into one episode in our time. So I know what is going wrong. I know why it is going wrong, but there's no need for us to continue with this absolutely deteriorating state of affairs of television. So television now is no television at all.
Yes, it is sad indeed, sir. We're falling short of time, so I have one more question for you, and then we'll go in for a rapid fire round. So, any unfulfilled dream?
There are only unfulfilled dreams. My dreams, I don't think I have fulfilled any dream so far. I think I've just taken my baby steps into show business. I have tested waters in television, stage, and film. And now is the time to pick up a dream and fulfill it.
Wonderful. That's really great. So, can we go in for a rapid fire round now? With your permission?
You want me to wear a bulletproof jacket or something?
No, sir. Not at all. So, which actor's name should be struck off from the history of Indian television?
Which actor's name? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I said which actor's name should be struck off from the Indian television, history of Indian television. Maybe Ron Calling shouldn't be an actor at all.
Okay, I'll tell you that. I don't know the name, but the so-called breed that is coming in from all parts of the country, claiming to be actors and claiming that they can actually memorize 4 pages and say them at one go. And they are all over television today, and none of them can act. I think that is the breed that we should do away with.
Okay. And which TV series should never have been made?
Which television series should never have been made? Oh, I'm
Disaster.
going to, sort of, rub a lot of people the wrong way. But I think most of the television serials after 2000, those daily soaps till today, all of them qualify for this citation.
Okay. All right. Queen of television.
Queen of television.
Who would you call the queen of television?
Oh, well, there are so many queens. I mean, I would say Hema Malini is the queen of television.
Okay. All right.
She was the first major female actor to, actually explore the medium. And she did quite a few interesting shows like Dances of India and Nupur and so many others,
Right.
Women of India. So I think she does qualify to be the star of television.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Most underrated actor.
Most underrated actor. I would say Farooq Sheikh, because, he deserved much more than he got. And it was, his magnanimity that he actually came down to the levels that, the depths that we struck with so many shows. Even a show like Chamatkar, though we thoroughly enjoyed doing it, I knew Farooq Sheikh was not meant for that. Farooq Sheikh was meant for Yes Minister. Farooq Sheikh was meant for international shows. So we tend to really bring down, very qualified and very, a lot of such talented people. We tend to bring them down here in films and television. So yes, I would say he was underrated.
Fantastic. Any actor or director whom you wanted to work with but didn't get the opportunity?
Oh, yes. My biggest regret that is I wanted to be part of Malgudi days. I wanted to be part of, R.K. Lakshman's Common Man. So that is something that I always regret. I wish I could have been part of those. I could have, done something very interesting in those shows.
Wonderful. A show that every generation should watch.
I guess very simply, Shyam Benegal's Discovery of India.
Right. OTT platform, a bane or a boon?
See, at the moment, it's neither a bane nor a boon, it's becoming a boom. So one should be very careful because, you can overstep. I don't know what is this term called OTT. Is it describing the kind of products or the acting that is happening on those channels? I would say a digital channel and a web show. Where did this term OTT or whatever it's called, over the top, come?
Yes.
So it's literally over the top. A few interesting shows have come up, like Delhi crime, and if I may say so, the one in which I was involved, scam, which were a little off the beaten track. And otherwise, I think I'm only hoping and praying that they don't go the television way.
Okay, fine. I'm going to take a couple of names. You have to, according to you, the most versatile of them. Who is it? Shah Rukh Khan, R. Mahadevan, Irfan Khan, or Pankaj Kapoor? Most versatile. One.
I would say Irfan Khan.
Irfan Khan?
Yeah.
Okay. And high on comedy quotient, one name, Archana Puran Singh, Farida Jalal, Supriya Pathak, Ratna Pathak.
Farida Jalal any day.
Farida Jalal.
Yes.
Okay. And Ananth Mahadevan as an actor or a screenwriter or a director or an author?
What?
What would you like to identify yourself best as?
As a filmmaker.
As a filmmaker?
Yeah.
Great. That is fantastic. I really enjoyed talking to you, sir. And once again, I would say that I am recommending your book highly to everybody because I think it really chronicles the history, along with your personal history, the entire history of television and also film industry. And it's a must read. I would say that everybody should do it. So it's been an absolute honor talking to you. Thank you so much. I now hand over the floor to Anshuji.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Urvashi ma'am. And with so many questions and so many rapid fire questions, I just want to say one line, ki Hari Ananth, Hari Katha Ananta. Don't you think, Anantji, in that way?
That has got nothing to do with me. That is with the scriptures. And I am only with the scripts.
Yes. So we have so many guests in the room. So first, I would like to invite our City President, Akshay Goyal, if you have any question, any remark on today's session. So,
so first of all, sir, thank you and gratitude. It was like, keep on listening to you for hours and hours. It is so pleasing, and knowing your journey is really, truly amazing. And I think it will inspire all the people who are into the room. Wonderful. And Urvashi ma'am, very wonderful put and very wonderfully asked questions. So thank you to you. Let's open up the room for questions because it's very important to address what our readers have to ask the guest himself.
Thank you so much. And all the readers, yeah, please raise your hand. Ritu Sharma.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. It was a pleasure listening all about you. I think we've always just watched you, and now hearing about you a lot, it meant a lot to all of us. Sir, I have a question to you, sir. So you belonging to South India, and you've been multilingual, and you're a very good Marathi screenwriter also, if I'm not wrong. Marathi and Hindi. How did you get the hang of that, sir?
Well, Rituji, the best part of this country is that no one belongs to any part of the country. We all belong to this country. And this country is so beautiful. This country has this magical power of, drawing you and enveloping you into all its cultures. So whether it's Urdu from the north, or whether it's Hindi in the Hindi belt, or Marathi, or Bengali, or Malayalam, or Tamil, or Telugu, or whichever language. I love languages. I've always taken Marathi seriously as a second language in school. And even while my friends used to just treat it as a passing mark subject, I used to take it seriously and see, they say never your work, whatever little effort or whatever inconsequential it may feel, however inconsequential it may feel at that point of time, it always helps you later in life. And today, am I glad that I took my Marathi seriously? So
yes, 100%.
Yeah, so that's what it is, Rituji. Hindi, of course, being in Mumbai, I have done a lot of Hindi theater, and I've taken my Hindi seriously too. And I made sure and consciously sure that I don't have a South Indian accent to go with it, because that any language which is not spoken with the right accent is wrong and should not be spoken. So I take a lot of effort to do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We have Dr. Hemant with us. Dr. Hemant.
Yeah, I just heard you, Mr. Mahadevan. And it was so wonderful that the way you have put everything in or that way, that during 80s and by 2000 what you were watching on the television, and after 2000 what you have been watching on television. When we were students or we were settling down into practice, I am a neurosurgeon, so I am telling you that settling down in practice. So in 70s and 80s, we were students and then settling down. So we could see some of the serials, but then we got time to watch television. Now what you have put it after 2000, what we see is all, I don't want to use any word, but we are so unfortunate, I think, that we have to watch all that. That if you remove the title or subtitle, you do not know the channel, then you will see the same thing. Stereotype what you said and what Mrs. Varman Urvashi Madam had said. The same type producers or directors making films or whatever. It is just same like we were watching few years back some serials where there is a marriage and then some extramarital affair. You will watch on one television, then on the other channel also the same type of serial. That series would go on, go on. Now what you watch is something conspiracy type serials, which will go on. So this, can't we go back to before 2000? That's my question.
Dr. Hemant, thank you so much for this observation. And let me tell you, I'm very envious of you. You're a neurosurgeon, and that's one area of interest that probably I would have explored if I had, continued to, pursue my medical degrees, like my parents had asked me to. But now I'm the black sheep in the family. I'm an actor, and I don't hold any water anymore. But yes, the problem in India is that जो कहते हैं ना भेड़ चाल है, अगर कॉमेडी चलती है तो कॉमेडी चलेगी, अगर शादियां चलती है तो शादियां चलेंगी, मैरिटल सेक्स, प्री मैरिटल, एक्स्ट्रा मैरिटल वो चलेंगी, और अगर कॉन्स्पिरेसी और गाली गलोच और मर्डर्स और लूटमार और ये सब कुछ जो चल रहा है ओटीटी चैनल्स में तो वो चलेगी. We are, I don't know, what is it? Is it a consumer driven society? Is it the sponsors, or is it the kind of people who actually cater to this kind of thing that are driving these people to continue doing the same thing over and over again? We need to check our psyches seriously, because I think something is seriously wrong with our mental faculties, and that's the reason why we function in this manner, whether it's any department in this country is going wrong with everything. I mean, television is not the only scene, but there's something wrong with our thinking, with our social thinking, with our I would say, I would blame it totally on consumerism.
Thank you, Dr. Hemant, and thank you, Anandji. We have Nidhi Gupta from Singapore Pick A Book. She's city president there. Welcome, Nidhi.
Thank you, Anju, and thanks, sir. I think so. It's amazing. It's my privilege to listen to you and hear so much things from you. So amazing. I'm feeling so blessed and thankful to Pick A Book that it invited you, and we are able to just sit with you, like it feels like we are just sitting in front of you and having a talk. And I would love to get, if I was physically I was there, I must have took your autograph.
So Nidhi, let me ask you a question. How is the situation in Singapore? I mean, do you still have zero COVID cases, or
No.
is there any cause for alarm? How is it going? I mean, it's amazing the way you have the government has brought down the situation there, control the situation there.
It was just from last week, actually, the cases rised a lot. So everyone was going under control, but yeah, some glitches were there.
Some people went into a disco and they celebrated and
yes.
enjoyed themselves. Yeah. That's sad, because we were all looking up to Singapore as a prime example of how to control COVID.
That's true. So now it's again back to half lockdown, you can say. So no eating out and all. So they're trying to control the situation. But yeah, from last 1 week, it is a little bit saddened situation over here. But yeah, they are taking a good care. We all are just putting up a mask and everything. We have to abide with the rules, so we are just following all the rules. So it's going good. Yeah,
Right, right. Be safe, be well.
thanks, thanks. And I'm so happy that I'm talking. So I was talking about autographs. So I'm a handwriting expert. So if I had took
Oh,
your autographs, I was able to
I'll show you. I'll show you something. I'll show you
tell a
something.
little bit.
I'll show you something. You know
Yeah,
what?
sure.
I had,
Mm.
if you,
Yeah.
if you go through the acknowledgements of, it's not here, it's one of the earlier editions. If you go through the acknowledgements of chapter of the book, it's handwritten. I thought that, let me make it very personal. So if you actually pick up the book and, if one of you can coordinate, maybe, Anshu can pick up the book here. I will sign it and I will give it to her and she can mail it to you. She can ship it to
My
you.
privilege. My
And
privilege.
since you're a handwriting expert, I want you to tell me what you think of the handwritten chapter in the book.
Sure, sure, sure. Thanks lots. Thank you. So, okay, so I have a question for you. So, what motivated you to write? And any guidance you want to give? Like, sometimes I also think to write something. So, what the guidance you can give to anyone
You
who
need
wants?
to put down, things for posterity. There are so many things. Why do we write a diary? Why do we keep a diary? Or why do we put down things, and then forget about it? I think it all needs to go out into the world. It needs to be sort of preserved for posterity, for eternity. And a lot of people can, tomorrow, this book, 20 years down the line, they'll probably not know how Indian television started or sponsored television started. They can pick up this book and read it. I mean, you're leaving something behind for people to read, for people to get informed, entertained. So I think you should write, but but the material that you write, whatever you write, should be of substance. It should not be frivolous. It should not be meaningless, or it should not have it should have some kind of impact in society.
Sure, 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 sure. Thanks, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. And any other questions? Yeah, we have Neelavati Meghani.
Very happy evening to one and all. I am Ms. Neelavati Meghani from Chennai, Hilpark Pick A Book Club. And really feeling so happy, blessed to be the part of this session. And Ananth sir, namaste to you.
Namaskaram,
And
namaskaram. எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? Namaskaram. சௌக்கியமா? எல்லாம்
சௌக்கியமா
சௌக்கியமா?
இருக்கேன் சார். எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
வீட்டுல எல்லாரும்
எல்லாரும்
நல்லா இருக்காளா?
சௌக்கியமா இருக்கும் சார்.
எல்லாரும் சௌக்கியமா?
எல்லாரும் நல்லா இருக்கா? எல்லாரும் நல்லா இருக்கா? We have Hindi bookshop in Chennai actually. So being a bookseller, we always feel that it is not only just selling the book, also motivating people to know what is written in the book. And people like you, those who are writing your experience and leaving the footprints for the society. And when we don't write that, somebody will write and get the credit in future. So it is always important to write. We have to write our own journey. So it's really great, sir. I'm very blessed to be a part of this session. And sir, if it is available in any other language also, we want to procure and promote the books in our shop.
நீங்க ஹிந்தி புக் ஷாப்ல இங்கிலீஷ் புக்ஸ் வைக்க கூடாதா? இங்கிலீஷ் புக்ஸ்
கண்டிப்பா வைப்போம் சார். That will be there.
ப்ளீஸ் புக் ஆர்டர் பண்ணி வெச்சுடுங்க சார், ப்ளீஸ்.
கண்டிப்பா சார். இது கண்டிப்பா வெச்சிடுவோம். If it is available in any other language also, we want to promote definitely. And being you are the multilingual person, and definitely in all languages will be promoting this.
I hope somebody decides to, maybe Anshuji is the right person to do a Hindi adaptation of the book. Anshuji, आप हिंदी में लिख सकेंगी ये? हाँ, आप ये इसके राइट्स मैं आपको दे देता हूँ, आप हिंदी में लिख लीजिए और इसका हिंदी एडिशन निकाल लीजिए आप.
Done.
आपसे ज्यादा क्वालिफाइड कोई नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है मुझे.
Thank you so much.
जरूर सर, जब बन जाती है हम जरूर ले लेते हैं. और अंग्रेजी उसके पहले अंग्रेजी का भी तो ले लेंगे विदाउट डाउट.
प्लीज अंग्रेजी में पहले खरीदिए, फिर हिंदी में खरीदिए और देखिए फर्क कुछ नहीं होगा. सिर्फ अंशु जी जो है उसकी इसमें 4 चांद लगा देगी.
बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया, सच में डाउट ही नहीं. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
And we have Ria with us. Ria, your question, please.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. It's really a pleasure to see you live. And I don't have any question to ask. I have a compliment to give you. You have made our childhood really blessed. television then was really amazing. I have watched you in Tipu Sultan, and I really don't remember the name of the serial actually. You have done with Pankaj Kapoor. You have played a Bengali Babu then.
Yeah, that was the Hindi version of Mind Your Language, Zaban Sabal.
Zaban
Zaban
Sambal Ke.
Sabal Ke.
I
Yeah,
used to watch it on a regular basis, and I loved
yeah.
you as a Pandit character in Tipu Sultan. You played
Right,
there.
right, right.
So thank you so much for making our childhood so memorable. And the best character that is I personally love was your in Khiladi. You were a surprise package in that. I have never expected you to do a negative character then.
No, that I would
So
say the credit goes entirely to the directors, because if you notice in Khiladi, there were other villains also, all veteran
yes,
villains like
yes,
Prem
yes.
Chopra, Shakti Kapoor, and all of them. And to make me the main villain amongst them, I think the credit is totally the foresight was Abbas Mustan's.
Okay. So you really nailed it and you really made that movie memorable because of that. That was
Thank you
really
so
a
much.
twist.
So kind of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
सो 1 घंटा हो गया है हम सभी आनंद जी से बातचीत करते हुए और हर तरह के क्वेश्चंस हमने सुने, हर तरह की बातें उनसे हमने की, टेलीविज़न की, सिनेमा की, ओटीटी की। सो आनंद जी, अभी जो रिया ने पूछा कि हमने खिलाड़ी में आपको बिल्कुल विलेन के रोल में देखा, ये सवाल जब मैं आपसे मिली तो मैंने भी आपसे पूछा था कि इतना सिंपल मैन विलेन कैसे बन सकता है? तो चलते-चलते बस एक शेर के अंदाज़ में आपसे अपनी बात कहना चाहूँगी कि न जाने कौन-सा मंज़र नज़र में रहता है, न जाने कौन-सा मंज़र नज़र में रहता है, ताउम्र मुसाफिर सफ़र में रहता है।
क्या बात है, क्या बात है। बहुत खूब।
So thank you so much. Any last note if you want to give, Akshay ji or Anand ji?
So thank you, sir, and we look forward to meet you in person, either in RIIFF, which is a signature event now of entire Rajasthan.
जी,
So both Suminder ji and Anshu ma'am has really pulled it so well. The last event in Jaipur and Jodhpur put together was an epic in itself. And we look forward to see you, and we'll create a larger event of Pick a Book for Jaipur, or for that matter, Pick a Book national event, and we would love to have you a part of that. So,
thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you so much, Akshay ji. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, and Anshu ji and everyone for your wonderful hospitality, for having me here. And I look forward to meeting all of you in Jaipur. अंशु जी और सोमेंद्र जी तो मुझे बुलाते ही रहते हैं, मैं ही आ नहीं पाता हूँ कभी कभी, लेकिन इस बार पूरी कोशिश करूंगा कि जनवरी में आपके साथ हूँ और रिफ का नेक्स्ट एडिशन में मैं हिस्सा लूँ. So looking forward. Thank you so much.